And hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm Robert Ducci here for Ulysses Spiel, and we're going to be going over the Cyberpapacy adventure from Torg Day 1 Adventures. So let's jump right into it. Well, actually, before we jump right into it, if you are just joining us and haven't really been paying attention to Torg a lot, we have our crowdfunding for Torg Eternity Tharkold up now. It's on Game On Tabletop. You can search Game On Tabletop and find Torg Eternity, or let me pull up that link real quick. Game On Tabletop. It's gameontabletop.com, and then it's Tharkold. And Tharkold is it's kind of a bit post-apocalyptic, a bit horror, a bit Hellraiser. It's got a really cool background. There you can see. I brought it up real quick. It looks like we are at $80,000, 351 backers. You can see on the right hand side of the screen there. So definitely check that out if you have not seen that. And that is going for 15 more days until the 14th of July. So definitely check that out if you're into Torg. So let's get into it here. Let's see. We don't need this. We need to see. There we go. We're brought up now. All right. So here are the dramatis personae. So as part of the Stay Home and Play initiative that we're doing, you can get the Torg Eternity Quick Start Up the Creek on DriveThruRPG if you go search for Up the Creek Quick Start, or you can go to the website. We've got a Stay Home and Play Torg Eternity article that has all this information, has the links for everything, and that's going to include that Up the Creek Quick Start. It's going to include the drama deck, which we're giving out for it's pay what you want. So if you've got a few dollars you can throw to us, that's great. If not, that's understandable as well. So it's got those. It's got this Day 1 Adventures, which we're reading through right now, which are great for new players and new game masters because it walks you through different rules each adventure. It also gives, I think, players, if you play through all of the Day 1 Adventures like as a campaign sort of, you play different characters because there's only all of these kind of happen on the same day at the same time, more or less. So you can't really play one character kind of jumping through them all. So but it gives people a chance to play characters from different cosms, and you can see how different perks and things like that work. So I think it's a good overall adventure for folks. And then what else is on there? There's the archetypes, the game master screen. All of that stuff is pay what you want. All of these characters that we're about to go through right now with the dramatis personae, these are like the characters that people can play as pre-generated characters, and even though it's a short write-up here, you can get the full write-up at ulysses-us.com/downloads, and you can find the Day 1 characters, and they have full character sheets for each of them. All right, so let's get into it here. Act 1, the Cyberpapacy. We're a little bit too big. There we go. The Cyberpapacy arrives in Orange, France, heralded by trumpets and talk of salvation. As people become aware of the horrors that occurred the night before, a riot breaks out, and the heroes are swept up in the flow of events. Each Storm Knight has a loved one who was lost in the bustle, possibly the same loved one. Or each Storm Knight has a loved one who was lost in the bustle, possibly the same loved one. They search a sinister clinic and find certain undesirables are being sent to Avignon in a train car. Can the Storm Knights rescue the prisoners and escape the Cyberpapacy's influence before it's too late? So if you've played this, if you're in the chat right now, and you've played this or game mastered it, let me know how it went for you. What went well? What did you kind of have to explain a little bit more to the players, or if you were a player in it, what went really cool, and what was something you remembered? If you're watching the stream right now, the images that you're seeing there in the bottom left-hand corner, those are all from the Tharkold crowdfunding happening now on Game On Tabletop. So check that out. So scene 1, Orange Skies. Standard scene, the characters are residents or visitors in the French city of Orange. Orange is quiet, rural, and has a population of around 30,000 people. The old city has narrow streets and restored facades, intentionally giving the impression of an old-fashioned village. Notably, several ancient Roman structures remain, including a triumphal arch and a large restored amphitheater. Avignon, a famous tourist destination, is known for its palace and cathedral, lies 30 kilometers to the south. Avignon's main claim to fame was an alternate Vatican during the historical schism in the Roman Catholic Church. The skies in that direction are dark and stormy. Strange lightning flashes and threatening wind blows through the streets of Orange in gusts. The air itself feels charged with static electricity. The moon in Orange is nervous. The storm looks strong enough to cause problems. But what has really set people on edge is the prophecy of a strange priest who passed through Orange about a month ago, making wild proclamations about the end of the world. Most of what he said sounded like lunacy. Dragons, demons, and nightmares would appear to punish the world for its hubris. All this devastation would be preceded by a terrible, unnatural storm. No one really believed the stranger's ravings, but he became the gossip of the town for weeks. This is the church police, flanked by a host, move in to put an end to a riot. Starting last night, there have been sporadic power outages. Internet and mobile phone communications have been down for hours. Such things happen, but the strange storm to the south has remained the town of the priest's words, and everyone is on edge. Or has reminded the town of the priest's words, and everyone is on edge, though no one wishes to admit it. Adrian, Darcy, and Rain, all associated with the heroes, rushed into town earlier in the morning to run errands and grab supplies before the storm arrived in full force. The characters are in town looking for their overdue loved ones, and have just met one another to trade updates. No one has spotted anything thus far, and phone service is still out. Theater of the New Order. The ground shudders slightly, and palpable waves of energy pass through the group. Mobile phones suddenly have signal again, but screens are locked with a message that reads "Upgrade in progress, Godnet installing," and swiftly filling progress bar. Hey, Cretan. Welcome. Once the install completes, phones reconnect and news scroll appears on the display. Messages such as "Remain calm," "An emergency town hall happening at the Roman theater" pop up. The Cyberpapacy, world laws and axioms are in effect. Deal each player a Cyberpapacy Cosm card. The Roman theater is a huge open seating amphitheater, well known to all residents. Anyone surfing for news sees headlines about demon attacks across Europe, plague devastating Asia, and some kind of natural disaster in America. Attempts to call or locate a missing person's phone don't work, and the system apologetically asserts that phones may not have been upgraded and joined the network yet. Before the characters can disperse, they are stopped by a strange sight. Translucent heralds float above the city of Orange, looking like blue, semi-transparent birds. This image is of Pope Malraux. Says, once the law of suspicion is in effect, it's all too easy to become the focus of unwanted attention. Trumpets sound as the heralds fly overhead. A clear voice emanates from them, and from all the connected phones, perfectly synchronized. Peace be with you. An emergency meeting is occurring right now at the Roman theater. Please proceed there immediately in an orderly fashion. Do not fear. Salvation is at hand. Everywhere, dazed people follow the herald's flight, forming lines toward the theater. Most murmur among themselves in confusion and concern, avoiding the meeting. If for some reason the heroes don't wish to go to the amphitheater, remind them it's the most likely place to find their missing loved ones. If that's still not enough motivation, the hovering heralds begin to follow the characters, repeating the message. Eventually, the church police arrive on the scene. Their uniforms are strange. The armor is of a design the group has never encountered before, and the weapons they carry seem impossibly advanced. At first, the church police try to reason with the heroes. They ask very seriously if any of them have headaches or feel ill. They recommend fervently that the stragglers head to the theater before the storm arrives. Glorious news is here, and the characters should hear it with the rest of their community. If anyone makes anti-religious or anti-authoritarian comments or disrespects the church police, they quickly become frustrated and draw their weapons. After a final warning, they attack with riot sticks. They transport any defeated and captured heroes to sanctuary for baptism. If the rebels win, Father Anonym rushes by and bids the Storm Knights to come with him so he can explain everything. Church police street beaters, 1 per hero. The assembly. The Roman theater is crowded with people by the time the latecomers arrive. The huge cone backdrop behind the stage is covered with bright 3D holographic projections. The largest in the center is a giant copy of this strange priest standing on stage, his amplified voice booming from the screens, the heralds, and also the people's devices. Around him, the other screens show images and headlines of disasters around the world, the invasion of the other High Lords. The priest is Father Vero Laval. His eyes are covered by a metallic visor. He wears rich robes of black and red and carries a long staff crisscrossed with wires and circuitry. A glowing crucifix rotates slowly at the top of the staff. Images from the other invasions flash behind Father Laval, especially from Day 1 adventures the players have already experienced. Father Laval is already speaking to the crowd. Elsewhere in the world, nations are being punished for their hubris and their lack of faith. Demons ravaged Europe last night and still ravage Russia. In contrast, Cyberpope Jean Malraux's arrival here is a blessing, a boon awarded for France's piety and advanced philosophy. The Cyberpapacy has come to shield France from the evils around them. We hope to shield all of Europe soon. Near the stage, a throng of people surround a hovering bus. Church police usher some people aboard. Laval gestures grandly to the vehicle. Unfortunately, due to the harshness of our world being torn asunder by these evil raiders, people may need upgrades to survive. If you experience pain in your limbs, headaches, or even blindness, speak to a priest or the church police. We'll transport you to a central hospital for the needed upgrades. Do not worry about any expense. All upgrades in zones under the Cyberpapacy's protection are completely free. This is Cyberpope Malraux's doctrine. To each the deserved, from each the possible. Father Laval grows somber and quiet for a moment before proceeding. The images on the screen switch to photographs of demons taken the night before. It says, finally, a warning. Demons are real, and the humans who worship and draw power from them, witches, are also real. They walk amongst you, spreading poison and lies. If you see or hear a witch practicing magic or pagan worship, report them immediately to the church police for the continued safety of the entire community. At this point, an image of Ariel's shop and her face appears on the screen. The crowd gasps. Some immediately begin to denounce her. Others shout back that she has been a fine member of the community her entire life. The arrival of church police, marching roughly through the assembled toward Ariel, whether she's controlled by a player or not, is the match that sets off the powder keg. Suddenly, the assembly turns violent. Locked weapons. Storm Knights may initially be exultant when they get a home of some of the church's powerful weapons, like the God Meter or the Tower of Babel, but that happiness is doomed to be short-lived. Just about every device the church police use, except for the riot stick, is connected to the GodNet, and that connection isn't passive. The devices aren't intelligent, but they know authorized users and can disable functions when wielded illegally. A God Meter won't fire, and instead a pleasant synthesized voice lectures the Storm Knight about which laws he's violating by possessing a stolen firearm, and recommending that the perpetrator turn himself in and confess his sins. Connected devices transmit their location, which draws even more trouble. Father Anonym has rare hacked weapons for the Resistance. These devices function for anyone and no longer spout platitudes. Being caught in possession of such weapons, however, is a serious crime. The riot. A very hard DN16 find test determines conclusively that the absent loved ones are not in the amphitheater crowd. They've either already taken one of the transports to the hospital or somewhere else entirely. Phone calls still go to voicemail. Any hero attempts to use a Find My Phone style application succeeds. The phone is located at the Central Hospital. But first, the searchers must escape the burgeoning riot. Ariel is actually somewhat forgotten in the brawl as tear gas streaks into the crowd and church police use riot sticks on the unruly mob. Random fights break out all around. Ignore the other fights breaking out. There are many more church police in the amphitheater, but they're busy with the rest of the crowd. The street beaters are intent on subduing the heroes, and fighting back against these invaders definitely triggers a moment of crisis. Even with a Storm Knight's abilities, these are tough opponents. Interactions are a must for dealing with damage. Church police armor makes them very durable, and thanks to gas masks on their helmets, they are immune to the effects of the tear gas. See below. A useful tactic is to grab at a mask. That's a grapple attempt with a -4 called shot penalty. If the street beater's strength test is lower than the damage, then the mask wrenches off, and the character may equip it as a simple action. The street beaters only use their riot sticks in Tower of Babel, though each carries a god meter. The heroes must attempt to steal a pistol from its holster, only to discover the built-in safety protocol, C-lock weapons. Page 119. Riot sticks aren't connected, so any Storm Knight may use those once gained from a disarmed or fallen street beater. Tear gas stymies any characters without a protective mask each turn. Church police headgear contains a filter mask and goggles. On a step back, any unprotected individual is very stymied and takes 2 shock. If the Storm Knights need help, or once they finish off the nearby church police, a bearded man in a ragged robe charges through the tear gas and calls out, "Hooray, this way! We must flee before the hosts arrive." Locals recognize this man as the priest who came through about a month before, preaching doom and destruction. He introduces himself as Father Anonyme, but he doesn't wish to say more until they're away from the Roman theater. He also has weapons he can throw at the Storm Knights if they're in trouble, but prefers to wait until they're into safety before he distributes them. Overhead, a bright blue light shimmers through the tear gas, and what sounds like a choir sings. Anonyme looks terror-stricken and flees immediately, begging the Storm Knights to come with him. Any who stay must face the host, and are likely captured and taken to the central hospital for processing. Church police with street beaters, 1 per hero, 1 equipped with a Tower of Babel shield. The host, only if the heroes stay and fight. This image is Mendel Merviel Monet. Scene 2, Baptism by Metal. Standard scene. Once the group reaches the relative safety of a nearby alley, Father Anonyme introduces himself properly. Father Anonyme. Anonyme wears simple robes and sandals. Those who saw him a month ago remember he was blind. Now a metal visor crosses his closed eyes and plugs into his temples. His long beard is flecked with gray. Quote, "I may not know my own name, but I know that this is wrong." The Proclaimer's story. Anonyme explains that he is from a realm named Magna Verita, the birthplace of the Cyberpapacy. He was a proclaimer, a priest who traveled ahead of the crusade. He thought he was spreading the good word. Over his lifetime, the crusade changed, and he now believes Jean Moreau has fallen to corruption and spreads destruction rather than salvation. The more time he spent on core Earth, the more he felt in his heart that this realm was closer to God than his own. Father Anonyme understands the basics of reality and recognizes that the characters are Storm Knights. That's what drew him to them in the riot. According to him, Storm Knights are chosen by God. They're rare, and he's never seen so many appear at once before. Anonyme suggests the missing people are likely in the central hospital being processed for upgrades. He warns that if they've already been upgraded, it may be physically dangerous to take them outside the Cyberpapacy's influence. Those at the hospital are being baptized in metal. The weakest organs are replaced. Within the reality of the church, this prolongs life and allows for beneficial enhancements. Outside the church's borders, such advanced machinery fails. If you wish to flee from here, you must get to them before they are converted. The hospital is a dangerous place, but I have something that may help. Gifts of the Resistance. Anonyme has a few hacked weapons to give to heroes. A God Meter, one God Meter, damage 15, range 10, 25, or 40, ammo 25. Unmodified versions switch to different ammo types based on voice commands, but this hack model can't do that. Tech Axiom 26. Power Dagger. When switched off, the blade still deals strength plus 1 damage. When activated, that increases to strength plus 2. Tech Axiom 26. Some riot sticks. The heroes may have any of these they picked up from the church police in the riot. While powered down, it works as a club, dealing strength plus 2. Switched on, the damage increases strength plus 3. Any hit deals an extra shock. Tech Axiom 26. The characters all know the location of the central hospital. Father Anodyne balks if asked to go along. He's wanted by the Cyberpapacy and is afraid being seen could ruin the group's chances of getting inside. He plans to look for more Storm Knights and hopefully stay ahead of the church police. Entering Clinique d'Orange. Getting into the Clinique d'Orange hospital is the easy part. A GWI Samson hover tank and a squad of church police occupy the parking lot, but they aren't turning people away. Rather, they encourage anyone who approaches to go inside and await processing and medical attention, especially if they look injured from the riot. A holographic banner projects from the front of the building, announcing, "Please pardon the mess, we're upgrading." Perched on the roof above, an ominous figure, much like the stone gargoyles that adorn cathedrals, peers down at the street. It moves from side to side, and red beams scan from its eyes. If Anodyne is still with the heroes, he points it out and cringes back, certain that if the gargoyle spots him, it will raise an alarm. A persuasion test or an attempt to disguise him convinces him to go anyway. Otherwise, he ventures off on his own. If the Storm Knights approach directly, the gargoyle shifts and looks directly at them, but then continues scanning without an apparent reaction. If they all succeed in the standard stealth test, DN10, the gargoyle doesn't react at all. The waiting room. Those who have been in the hospital before find it very different now. Technicians wearing church insignia stand on ladders or crouch near the floor through the corridors, working on arrays of glowing cables and hanging wires. In place of nurses and staff, nuns in blue habits now roam or sit behind advanced computer terminals. One such nun looks up from her terminal as the heroes approach and asks if she can help them. If the group lets her, or someone lures her away and operates her terminal themselves with an easy computer test, they quickly learn the disturbing news. One of the three sought individuals, Adrian, Darcy, or Rain, is here and being prepped for conversion in Chamber B2. The others aren't here. Instead, they've been tagged as collected for confession and are at the train station awaiting transport to Avignon for further processing. Discarded phones and other personal items from all three are in a bin marked for recycling. The bin, if checked, also contains confiscated weapons, including a 9mm pistol and several knives. Chamber of Horrors. How the characters choose to get to the Chamber B2 is up to them. A challenging DN12 persuasion test spins a convincing enough tale to get past any church orderlies in the halls. The security forces and number of people in the halls makes using stealth to get in without being seen at all a near impossible DN20. The intruders could opt to go in, guns blazing, but that triggers the attack of the cyber gargoyle below, which complicates the rescue effort. We have an image. A cyber gargoyle scans the horizon for enemies of the cyber church. However, the group travels to Chamber B2. They arrive just in time. The prisoner is strapped into the machine, but it hasn't been activated yet. One church police street beater stands guard, and two orderlies work the machine. The rescuer may have surprised, depending on how they entered. Freeing the captive from the gurney is an easy DN8 dexterity test. The church personnel resist the heroes if they can, but after one round, an alert is sounded, see below, and they obey the mandate to remain calm and still after that. Church police street beaters 1, church orderlies 2. In each of the other chambers, a person is strapped to a kind of gurney, arms spread as if on a cross. Machines whir and cut flesh, replacing organs or limbs with cybernetic equivalents. Each victim sweats, mouth contorted in a grimace of pain or rapture, as some kind of beam feeds visions provided by the church directly into his eyes. Disrupting this process once begun is fatal to the patient. If the raiders wish to disable the operating machines anyway, each is a toughness 15 or very hard DN16 mind test to sabotage. Any such attempt certainly triggers alarms and brings the cyber gargoyle. Attack of the cyber gargoyle. Once the workings of the hospital or conversion chambers are disrupted, a humorless voice booms from speakers throughout the hospital. And an admonition is now in effect. All faithful shall remain still and silent. For the sake of your body and eternal soul, comply. I repeat, this is a church admonition. Remain motionless and silent. The hospital becomes eerily silent. No one speaks to the Storm Knights or impedes their progress if they choose to move. There are two exits from the waiting room. One that leads to the main floors, out the main doors to the parking lot. and into the Samson tank and the church police, who now lie in wait, or deeper back through the hallways toward the rear entrance. If the group heads for the main entrance, they meet the cyber gargoyle head on as it enters. If they flee towards the back or try to remain in place, they hear its heavy form stomping toward them through the halls. The metallic gargoyle from the top of the building launches inside the hospital, its wings folded close against its body. It stares with blue, glowing eyes and launches itself at the interlopers immediately if it spots them. Just standing still won't work. The creature already knows what the group looks like thanks to the ubiquitous security cameras. This encounter might play out as a chase or as a combat depending on the Storm Knight's approach. The DN for each step of the chase is highest dexterity involved. Once a person finishes step D, he gets away through the rear exit. Don't test for the rescued person. He or she escapes if the rest of the group does. The cyber gargoyle doesn't stun or capture people. It strikes to kill. It cuts through hostages without concern, regardless of their rank or pleas. If this party fights and manages to defeat the cyber gargoyle, they may leave without further incident, while everyone else remains completely still. Anyone captured is taken to the train station in Scene 3 for transport to Avignon with the rest of the undesirables. There's a map. It looks like a train station. It says the train station offers many opportunities for rescue or escape. Scene 3. All aboard. Standard scene. The Storm Knights have discovered that the remaining missing people and other disruptive figures are being loaded onto a train bound for Avignon. There's only one train station in Orange, and approaching it undetected is an easy DN8 stealth test thanks to the winding streets and ongoing storm. If the test fails, the heralding patrolling the yard spots the infiltrators. See caught in the act below. A sleek locomotive, unlike anything the rebels have ever seen, hums on the tracks. It faces south towards Avignon. The tracks at the station stretch northwest across Rhône. The train has only 3 cars. One looks like a troop car, complete with a wicked-looking laser on a turret atop it. Damage 16, ammo 50, rapid fire. A second car seems empty, and the third is locked. But protesting voices from inside reveal that it's filled with protesters, or prisoners. On a parallel track, a standard diesel engine slowly moves up alongside the Cybertrain, shuttling toward a junction for a different mission. There are 4 church police in the area for every hero present. Half are inside the troop car and only come out if there's trouble. The rest are inside the station or wandering the platform and yard. They are on guard, but they're not expecting trouble or paying much attention. Church police street beaters, 4 per hero, and a herald, 1. Conjunction junction. The heroes may have options on how to proceed. Show players the map and point out the major features like the station, the older locomotive, and the cars. Give an idea of where the church troops are and note the hovering herald that patrols the whole yard. Don't be afraid to list details of possible tasks and give the players time to discuss their approach and make a plan. An idea card played here outlines all options, including any drawbacks. Some possible tasks include distracting the guards. Some of the team may try to draw the attention of the guards away. Pretending to be someone who belongs there is likely a persuasion test that ends hard, DN14, since the train station is supposed to be clear. Other skills may be substituted depending on what the players are trying to do. Simply making some noise and then escaping is a standard stealth test. Success draws away the herald. A good success sends 2 of the church police on a fruitless search far away, and an outstanding result increases that to 4 church police. On a failure, 4 street beaters open fire on the prowler with their god meters, but don't leave the site. Reconnecting the locomotive. The man currently operating the diesel engine isn't part of the Cyberpapacy and has little idea what's going on. He receives strange orders from his locomotive and make room for an unscheduled express from Avignon. A standard persuasion test convinces the engineer of the situation, and he offers to help. He can either move the locomotive into the other train's track and hook up the prisoner's car, or people can pile aboard his locomotive and he can head straight onto the current track. If the Storm Knights don't wish to deal with him, a standard unarmed combat or melee weapons test KOs him. With the engineer's help, the tracks are switched and the locomotive is hooked to the prison car without a test. Without the engineer's help, a hard DN-14 land vehicles test completes the job. The movement of the locomotive is certainly noticed by the church police, but it doesn't seem unusual in and of itself, unless the test fails and a small accident draws their attention. Freeing the prisoners. The car holding 20 prisoners, including the remaining loved ones, is padlocked on the outside, -4 to lockpicking. Once it's open, the prisoners follow the Storm Knight's lead, either staying in place or scattering if bidden. When any prisoners leave the car, the herald or any church police in the yard notice them and raise the alarm. Sabotaging the tracks. The Storm Knights may wish to disrupt pursuit by destroying the brakes on the Cybertrain's cars, or even destroying the tracks at a strategic spot. Locking the wheels on the empty car only requires a standard stealth test to accomplish. Anything more requires moving onto the troop car itself, a near impossible DN-20 stealth test. Once in position, the saboteur could padlock the troop's car doors shut from the outside, or even take control of the laser turret atop the car. The tracks are toughness 12, and a wound makes them impossible for trains. Caught in the act. A failure on any test alerts the hovering herald, which floats down to check out what's going on. The team may try to eliminate it before it can raise an alarm, or avoid it by testing stealth against the herald's find. If the herald issues a warning, combat rounds begin, and all the church police act. The rescuers may fight it out or continue trying to execute their plan while under fire. A setback for the hero marks the arrival of the host. See Scene 4. Scene 4. The Heavenly Host. A dramatic scene. A bright blue light streaks across the sky and descends directly towards the fugitives. Hopefully the Storm Knights rescue the prisoners, including the last of their missing loved ones, and are racing northwest on the diesel locomotive. They may also be at the train station or on foot, in which case escape is unlikely. They must face Malraux's Angel of Death and defeat it to escape alive. If they're on the train, it barrels northward at top speed toward a raging storm wall. If the riders took any measures to prevent pursuit, they face only the host. Otherwise, any remaining church police follow at their in the other train and take the long-range shots with their god meters. Destroying the tracks, as noted above, puts an end to any pursuit other than the host. The host is a powerful opponent. It's skilled enough to multi-target anyone near it, or multi-action to attack some heroes and use interactions against others. If it suffers a wound, it flares a righteous orange color as its wings spread like blazing fire. There's a major benefit to facing the host on the train. The reality storm still raging to the north. The storm hits after 1 minute and marks the border of a core Earth hardpoint. When it hits, each side must attempt a reality test. Failure loses a possibility. Success avoids losing anything. A good success gains a possibility, and an outstanding success gains 2. Inside the axioms and world laws switch to core Earth. The law of the Underdark triggers immediately, allowing the players to put an extra destiny card in their action pools. The law of glory is also active. Anyone who still has an unplayed Cyberpapacy Cosm card must exchange it for a core Earth Cosm card at this point. The Cyberpapacy world laws and axioms are no longer in effect. Cyberpapacy weapons are no longer supported by the local tech axiom, which means the escapees may have to deal with 1-case or 4-case contradictions depending on their origins. The host also causes a 1-case contradiction and disconnects on a mishap. If the host disconnects, it gives up the pursuit immediately. It also turns back at the end of the 9th round, presumably to find and eliminate whatever is creating this hardpoint. If the host isn't destroyed before it's forced to break off pursuit, it hovers to a stop in the air as the train slips away. Its music-like voice mumbles as the Storm Knights speed away. We know who you are. We do not forget. As the church spreads, we shall find you. The storm knows your name. It points at the heroes, and then its glowing light fades and it disappears into the distance. The hosts are incredibly dangerous, powerful, and utterly ruthless. There's an image. Epilogue. Weeks later, any surviving escapees hide in the underground catacombs of Paris. Much of France is dominated by the Cyberpapacy, which spreads across Europe like a cancer. Parts of Paris, at least, remain free and fighting. Whispers spread of a visitor like the United Nations, from the United Nations, a warrior with special ties to La Resistance, who is organizing counterstrikes. He wishes to speak to the Knights of Orange, specifically. The stranger is an older man with close cropped hair. and leathery skin. He introduces himself as Quinn Sebastian. I'm with the Delphi Council, a special resistance group tasked with fighting Jean Moreau and those like him. We're looking for people, the brave and the resourceful type, to take the fight to these High Lords. Can I count on your help? So that's the end of that. That sounds cool. It sounds like it's pretty quick. Maybe, I don't know if I just read it quick, but it seemed like it went by pretty fast. So in the chat, those of you that are in the chat, have you played this adventure? How did it go? You know, what did your characters do? Or if you were the characters, what did you guys do? And what did you do differently than, you know, what I just read? Cyberpapacy threats. The church orderly. As the church takes over institutes, they instill their own specialized staff. The nuns and orderlies who populate most hospitals oversee cybernetic conversions and look after the residents' physical and spiritual health. Looks like they got some pretty standard stats, no perks, but they do have two possibilities. Church police street beater. The Cyberpapacy's police force can be found on most every corner in major cities. They are trained in basic detection, crowd control, and of course combat. Street beaters are equipped with audio-visual recording equipment and their helmets connected to the GodNet. They aren't given cyberware or other enhancements. Those are saved for the more elite cat teams. Looks like they got some good equipment, the armor of God, a God meter, riot stick, and one officer is equipped with the Tower of Babel shield. +3 may not move and attack without a strength +10, or 10+, and they have two possibilities. The Cyber Gargoyle. Cyber Gargoyles are mechanical constructs, pure robot with projected skin of stone. The type of stone varies, but most appear gray or obsidian. Rare specimens show chrome trim along their wings, claws, and teeth, their true metallic frame showing through. As the Cyber Gargoyle suffers damage, more of its projected skin fades. They all have wings, and their faces resemble snarling beasts. Cyber Gargoyles can speak, but usually remain eerily quiet. Their special abilities: they've got armor +3, camouflage. They gain +5 to stealth when they remain still in an urban environment. Claws and bite, fear, flight. They're mindless. They're programmed machines and are immune to intimidation, taunt, and telepathy. And they're relentless. They ignore shock. A herald. Herald is a small drone with holographic projectors set to make it appear as a bird or cherub. Heralds are designed to observe or broadcast images and sounds, but to not directly engage the church's foes. Nice. I like that they kind of look like birds or cherubs. They have some armor, they have flight, they are mindless, they are relentless, and they are small. They've also got special abilities: protected core of +5, armor, an energy lash, sword. The host. Oh, that's the host. Okay. Sorry. So that was the herald. Moving on to the host. The hosts are terrifying holographic projections of glowing war angels. The hovering device at the center contains an artificial intelligence and projects light and force fields to create a physical manifestation of the Godwill's net. The projection changes color depending on the angel's mood and purpose. Few people see a red angel and live. The hosts mostly remain quiet, but when they speak, their voices are loud and multifaceted, more like a choir singing than a person speaking. I've got high spirit and strength in mind. Skills 14 dodge, faith 18. Nice. No perks, 5 possibilities. Their special abilities are armor, protected core +5, energy lash / sword. The host's projected weaponry can reach up to 5 meters away and deal strength +3 damage. On an outstanding hit, the host may choose to either grapple the target or apply the damage as fire. Energy shield. If the host uses an active defense, it projects layers of force fields. Its toughness increases +4 until its next turn. Flight. Move 12 in the air. So that looks like the end of this Cyberpapacy adventure for Day 1 Adventures. So that's pretty cool. This looks like a fun, quick one. I like the gargoyles. I like the host. Very cool. All right, so we've got a few minutes left. Let's actually go take a look at, let me go back over here to see pop-up Chrome on the top there. So let's go take a look. Right now, looks like we have, let me refresh this. It was 351. Yeah, 351 backers. We just passed 80,000 Let's see what that gets us for the Tharkhold crowdfunding. 80,000. Here's all the stuff you can get. Scrolling. All right, so last Friday, so I went on a little vacation this past week. On Thursday, went camping. And so last Thursday, we had just passed, during our last Q&A, we just passed the common threats of Tharkhold Q&A, which is great. So it looks like we've got the source book, and we just passed an in-depth stream overview of the Tharkhold source book. So we'll see, perhaps, Greg or Daryl or Dana, we'll see who's going to do that, but the team streams a detailed overview of the Tharkhold source book. So we just passed that, which is great. I also wanted to go look at the website and see. Deanna put up something last week. Looks like Tharkhold previews 6 archetypes. Today we've taken a look at the archetypes. Let me make sure that all looks good. Yep. That the archetypes that will be included with the Tharkhold GM screen. The Torg Eternity Tharkhold crowdfunding on Game on Tabletop is currently live. The archetypes included in the Tharkhold wave include Abomination Thug, Blasted Land Survivor, Bratva Soldier, Chop Shop Doc, Demon Scholar, X-Spy, Fallen Alpha, Grid Runner, Institute Escapee, Intelligence Officer, Occultech Smith, Pain Acolyte, Psy Master, Race Marine, Renegade Infiltrator, and Rogue Institute Agent. Here's a sample. This is the Abomination Thug. It looks like some good strength and spirit, a little bit of dex, a lot of adds in melee weapons, dodge, willpower. Perks are mutation, immune to radiation, heals when radiation card is played, outsider -4 to persuasion test, oversized arm, strength test and damage +2, ignore unwieldy property for melee weapons, deformative mutation, -2 penalty when running. Nice. Got a slap patch that heals a wound, some junk armor, and you got a cutting will melee weapon and unarmed combat. Nice. That's crazy looking. Very cool. Yeah, let's read into it here. We've got a few minutes still. So, overview. The Blasted Land has caused many mutations amongst the northern Russian populace of Europe. Some have gained strength and power. Some have gained strength and power these mutations, becoming abomination thugs. While their mutations give them a social stigma, they simply do not care. They take their brute strength and use it to smash anything that stands in their way. They often wear scrap armor and love to wield dangerous and deadly melee weapons. Tactics. You're a physical brute. You'll primarily use your melee weapon skill, but you are definitely not afraid to go hand to hand with your opponents. You'll want to get up close, so long arms and other long-range weapons won't be effective against you. You won't be winning any beauty contests, so let your allies talk for you. Otherwise, you're going to have to use your intimidation to get what you want. Moment of crisis. You were already somewhat of an outcast, living in a Russian village and not one of the cities. The invasion came and it didn't concern you until President Volkov blew up the Tharkhold Maelstrom Bridge with a nuclear warhead, and its radiation covered your village. You defended your village against Tharkhold horrors, and your mutations gave you strength to defeat them. Quote, "Hey, you guys." I think that's a little callback to Chunk, or what is it, Sloth from the Goonies. Description: scrap armor is strapped to your torso, and you wield a cutting wheel with your larger arm. Your mutation has given you a hunchback. Agenda: the loss of your former simplistic life has fueled you to fight the High Lords. The mutations of the Blasted Land radiation has given you a means to accomplish it. The Delphi Council gives you direction, so you don't have to think too much on a best course of action. Names. Got a bunch of names. The advancement track, which again, I love seeing these. Makes it really easy for people to kind of level up while they're learning the game. which is cool. So yeah, so that was Friday's update. There's a new update today. I just, as I was streaming, I saw the notification come in, so I'm gonna go and I'll edit that update, and then I'll get it out there live to you. So watch the website shortly. But there's also other updates here. You can see the first update, the day 1 365 or the day 365 plus. There's an update about aspirants in the race. Aspirants are cyber demons that have kind of changed their ways and at least trying to become good. Preview 3 is Cranod and Jezreel, kind of gave the stats for both of them. Preview 4 is about magic in Tharkold and how it works or is struggling to work. And preview 5 is Welcome to Tharkold, and that actually talks about what happened, why there are, what happened with Cranod and Jezreel, and who is fighting to control Tharkold. And then now this is the 6th one, and then we've got another one coming up shortly. So definitely check those out on the website. You can also go to Game On Tabletop and see where we're at and back and help us out with this. So with that, I'm going to call it a day. I'm Robert Adichie, and this is Ulysses Spiel, Ulysses International, and we'll come back Wednesday as we read the final adventure for Urarsh in the day 1 adventures, and we'll have gone through all of them. So with that, again, I'm Robert Adichie, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.